I will turn this over to Bill to introduce our panelists. Take it away, Bill.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it very much. And good day, everyone, and welcome to our four-part series and panel discussion, like Tyler said, entitled Brighter Financial Futures for Our Special Needs Children. Week 2, we will focus on supporting our special needs families. Our distinguished panelists are all professionals and all offer services for families with special needs. We will ask each of our panelists the same 3 questions, and we'll begin with Jody Jackson. And I'd like to introduce you to Jody and read a little about her introduction. Jody is a registered nurse. She's board certified in case management and an advanced professional aging life care manager. Jody came to AROSA, formerly known as LifeLinks, in 2010, and as an RN consultant with several years of clinical nursing experience in critical care and home health. Prior to joining AROSA, Jody was the RN case manager and resident services director for a continuing care retirement community in Brentwood, Tennessee, where she managed the overall healthcare needs of over 200 independent living residents. She strongly believes in creating connections and relationships with both her clients, team members, and community partners. Outside of work, she is married with 3 children and enjoys kayaking, gardening, and going to the beach. She volunteers with her church and helps kids at risk in the community. She also is a board of directors member for CommuniServe, a nonprofit raising money for veterans who cannot afford caregivers. And Jody, as a veteran myself, I want to thank you for that service. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure they certainly do as well.
Thanks, Bill. We appreciate your service as well.
So the first question, Jody, is how does your organization, AROSA, what do they provide?
That's a great question. So we provide expert guidance to families so that they can make the best decisions and obtain the best care for an aging or special needs loved one. So the way we do that, we're a multidisciplinary team of experts. We have registered nurses, certified care managers, licensed social workers, we have mental health professionals, and we even have a physical therapist on staff. Most recently, we've added non-medical home care, which means we have caregivers. So as you can see, we're pretty well-rounded. We have been around for almost 20 years, and our initial focus was geriatric care management. However, out of that, a few years ago, we branched out to serve people of all ages with special needs. And this can include people with physical and intellectual disabilities, those suffering from mental illness and or substance abuse, survivors of traumatic brain injury, and pretty much everything in between. So we are known to take the toughest cases. We don't shy away from difficult situations, and we want to keep people from slipping through the cracks, so we walk alongside with them. Because of the expert guidance that we provide, we're able to help enrich the lives of our clients by fostering a sense of meaning and purpose. We do this by creating tailored care plans to help clients achieve goals. We help them become contributing and valued members of society. We empower them to live a fulfilling life. And we also connect them to resources so that they can flourish. We help to conserve financial resources and time by streamlining care. Oftentimes, this can include preventing frequent hospitalizations and helping to manage resources. We provide a continuity of care by preventing gaps in care, and we ensure that all providers and resources are on the same page. We do that by providing what I would call boots on the ground perspective, and we advocate to ensure that we bring about the best care and give a voice to the voiceless. The most valuable thing that I think we do is create a peace of mind, and we do this by creating stability. Having a care team provides a safety net of support so that a client can thrive rather than survive, and families can become more equipped to navigate through challenges.
So what is, you covered that pretty well in detail. What is the total scope of what you offer?
Sure. So I know a lot of people don't know what a care manager is. It's a newer profession, so I can explain a little bit about that. A care manager's role is to expertly guide families through challenges that arise and help to prevent crisis from happening. So, care management is a little different than a lot of other professions. It offers a holistic, client centered approach to care. And we do that because we recognize that having a disability of any kind affects all areas of life. So we tap into key knowledge areas to work in concert with each client, their family, and their providers to help develop a personalized plan that can afford a sense of stability, clarity, and like I said earlier, peace of mind. So some of the things that the care plan can include are things like finding the right healthcare providers and specialists. We can help connect to the mental health professionals, support groups, and psychiatry. We can help connect to various therapies like occupational, physical, and music therapy. One of the biggest things we do is hire and supervise and coach in-home caregivers. We can help with placement and appropriate levels of care or housing. We can identify opportunities for socialization and recreation. We can even help apply for disability benefits and navigate the ever-changing insurance maze and medical system. We all know that's difficult. We also share strategies for maintaining healthy family relationships. We have nurses on staff that can help with pre-setting medications and providing support with medication adherence and education. Honestly, the list of possibilities is endless. I could just talk about this all day long. It really depends on the goals and needs of the client. So we've developed connections and partnerships with communities, resources, and providers, which means we have relationships with doctors and therapists in the area. We help clients find the right fit and best care for them. A lot of times, because of the relationships, it means that we have inside knowledge and can expedite processes so that families can save time and energy. We also partner with nonprofit organizations that provide free resources and services. So you might be asking, how does this happen? What a care manager does is go out and meet with the family. Our advocates, they do an in-depth assessment initially to create a care plan. So we evaluate current systems, we celebrate what's working and identify what's not. Based on these needs that are identified during this in-depth assessment, we then create personalized solutions, which then in turn creates a customized care plan for moving forward. Once we've reviewed the care plan with the client and their family, we work collaboratively to implement all or part of the care plan. So everything is custom. We can do basically what the family and the client need. So some examples of that, we had a client that had a traumatic brain injury and substance abuse issues who was reentering the community after having been in prison. His options were limited, as you can imagine, and he was really unaware of any resources in the family or in the community. So we helped him connect with the right housing and connected him to vocational rehab to find employment. The housing was a sober living home that provided structure, support, and transportation, and it gave him a soft landing and an opportunity to make a new start. Another example, we had a family that had 4 kids. 1 was an adult, 3 were younger, all under the age of 11. All 3 kids under the age of 11 had special needs, and mom and dad were working around the clock to be a tag team to take care of them around the clock. Dad passed away unexpectedly, and they now were left with mom who can't do it all. So we helped her to find caregivers for the home. We helped her so that she could get a break, basically. And we helped them with some insurance issues and, help stabilize that situation. And then one last thing I'd like to say that we do is we can serve as a healthcare power of attorney. So a healthcare power of attorney is a relationship between the client and AROSA where we get to know you and we get to know your wishes so that we can help you to carry those out. Sometimes people don't have a loved one that can serve in this purpose, or maybe they, don't want a loved one to serve in this purpose. And so we can build that relationship and serve as a healthcare power of attorney.
Excellent. You kind of touched on this subject a little bit, but what resources could you provide to help balance that daily care and also time for the caregiver?
So this is really near and dear to my heart. The most helpful thing that a caregiver can do to balance daily care demands is to take care of themselves. You know, you've always heard the old adage of the flight attendant that gets on the airplane and she says that you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on others. It's so true in caring for a special needs loved one. It's a journey, and oftentimes it's a really long journey. And so you have to take care of yourself to maintain your ability to take care of a loved one. And self-care looks different to everyone. It could be that you hire a caregiver so that you can have some alone time, go for a walk, even take a shower, go to the grocery store, or go to coffee with friends. It could be hiring a care manager like what we do to take some of the burden of all the coordinating and the doctor's appointments and behind the scenes stuff so that, you know, that can build some more time in your schedule to take care of yourself. It can look like pursuing hobbies, using a mindfulness meditation. I always say it can, self-care is strengthening your faith and relying on your church for help. You can look into the possibility of respite care, which is really beneficial for a lot of families, or seek any kind of volunteer assistance to help. Another avenue that we always recommend at AROSA to balance daily care demands is to join a support group. So support groups are for people that come together because they're all in some sort of situation or a special circumstance that's similar with each other. Support groups, we have found, we lead a lot of support groups, and we have seen long-lasting bonds created out of those from individuals that come together that may not even know each other. And it just helps to have someone that's going through the same thing or has been down that road that you've been down. You can discuss ups and downs. You can obtain ideas for caring for your loved one, or just a soft place to land to be able to have a few minutes to get things off your chest. So I think our biggest daily balance between all the daily tasks and care demands is just take care of yourself.
That sounds excellent. And I want to thank you again for participating as a panelist in this.
Yeah.
And we're now going to go to panelist number 2, which is Cece Palazola, and it's my pleasure to introduce her. She is an executive director of Concord Academy, and an independent middle and high school in Memphis for students with learning differences. She earned a master's degree in instruction and curriculum leadership from the University of Memphis, and began her career as special education teacher in the Memphis City School District. Cece has over 30 years of experience in teaching, education, curriculum development, and leadership in schools and informal learning settings. Her skills include nonprofit management, strategic planning, and youth development, program design, and community outreach. She lives in a 100-year-old house with her husband and teenage daughter and 2 very spirited dogs. She is a lifelong Memphian and a member of the 2021 Leadership Memphis Executive Class, returning to the service of students with learning needs has been a highlight of her experience since joining Concord Academy in 2019. Cece is committed to equity, inclusion, and opportunity for all people with disabilities, and believes that Concord students' full participation in the community makes Memphis a better place for everyone, and I certainly agree with that. Please welcome Cece Palazola.
Hi, Bill. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Cece, you're going to get the same 3 questions, and so maybe you get a little preview there. What does your organization, Concord Academy, provide?
Okay, so first, I'm actually going to share my screen, so bear with me. I'm glad you asked that, Bill. So we are, as you said, we are a middle school and high school, and we are an all special ed school. We currently have 53 students, so we are very small, very specialized. And I liked a lot of the things Jody said about really tailoring or customizing their program to meet the needs of their clients. We do the same thing at Concord with our students. We really customize things for them. We have 3 program components. They are academics, transition services, and social emotional supports. So first, the academics, we follow a traditional high school or middle school and high school curriculum, and we follow all the Tennessee state standards for learning. We have individualized learning plans for each student. In the public schools, they call those IEPs. We call them a little bit different. We use a little bit different language. We have a modified curriculum that includes taking courses over 2 years versus 1 year, when needed. And we provide student accommodations as needed as well, just depending on the student. And we just explore that with each individual. We have 3 different diploma tracks. So we have a traditional high school diploma track that qualifies our students to attend a 4-year university. The majority of our students are on that diploma track. We also have another diploma track that gets them a high school diploma that's a little bit modified and qualifies them to attend a 2-year college or a trade school or like a community college. And then we have a 3rd diploma track that's a special ed diploma track. So all 3 of those are available for our students. And I mentioned this before, but our teachers are all licensed in the state of Tennessee and all have a special education endorsement. And qualifier there, we have 1 teacher this year who is not quite there, but she's working on her credentials. So. And then our transition services, and what I mean by transition, if you're not familiar with this term, is really getting our students transitioned and ready for life after high school. So we really focus a lot on post-secondary readiness. A good portion of our program is around all of those services. And we also do an individualized transition plan for each high school student. We have transition classes for every high schooler. So every high school student goes to a transition class every day where they might talk about life skills, job skills, things that are going to prepare them for life after high school. We have a transition coach on staff, and her entire job is around making sure that our students are all ready for the most or the best level of independence that they can have when they leave us after they graduate. We teach self-advocacy skills where they learn about their disability, learn about how to ask for accommodations in a job placement or in a social situation. We have a work simulation lab where you see that on one of the pictures, where we really like to do a lot of support and move our students gently through sort of simulated activities at school, and then supporting them through gaining independence as they move out into a workplace, out into the community. We do mock interviews with, we bring in professionals from our community partners, and they come in and run our kids through the paces and do a mock interview where they actually go and rate the student and give them feedback at the end of that experience. And our students, you might see in that picture, there is a little iPad set up there. They're recording their mock interviews as well, so the students can go back and fine tune and see what they could have done better. We also do internships with our high school students. They go out into the community. Today is actually the last day of our internships for the spring. We have kids out at a furniture store, a grocery store. We have a restaurant, and then we have one actually at our local PBS station, the WKNO here in Memphis, working as an intern.
That's excellent.
And then the third prong of our program is social emotional learning. We include social emotional learning in everything we do. All of our student activities are designated or designed with SEL built in, and there's a lot of supports there too from staff and teachers. We have a structured environment with a predictable schedule, and we use the term supported failures. So we want them to to really stretch and try, and that means sometimes they fail. So as long as they're failing in a supported and emotionally safe environment first before they go out into the world, that's always a good thing. So we try to do that and really get them to test their own boundaries and try, go for it while you're here at school among friends. And then we slowly move out into them working out in the community. I mentioned before, we have a licensed behavior analyst. She can work on behavior plans if there's anything that needs to be tweaked in a student's, social emotional realm. She does one-on-one sessions and group sessions with our students. And she also partners with the student's own therapist. So there's a lot of back and forth and support between the therapist and the school. So sometimes we can even implement parts of the therapist plan here at school to support that.
Well, I'm fairly familiar with Concord Academy. They are looked at in the Memphis area as a huge asset to our the West Tennessee marketplace, and I'm so happy that you're here. So, what resources could you provide to help balance that daily care for versus time for the caregiver?
Sure. So we really we look at our families as partners in what we're doing. So we almost start at the very beginning. We start with a family visit before we ever accept a student. The family comes and visits, and then the student will come and visit. And all along the way, we are engaging them in, first of all, making sure that they're a right fit for Concord. But once they do come on board as a student and in a Concord family, then we try to involve them in as much of the planning and sort of strategic thinking about where their child is going to land, so to speak, after high school. So we start thinking about that even as early as middle school, but certainly we get very strategic about that in the high school years. And the families are always a part of that decision-making process. We can help coordinate services for them. We have a few students that do telemedicine therapy with their therapist right here from school. We also have a speech therapist that comes in and works with some of our students. And so coordinating services is something that we provide for families. We also try to facilitate resources for them. For example, we have the Tennessee scholarship folks come in and talk to our families. We work with it's a Memphis Opportunities Scholarship Trust here in Memphis that supports students that need financial help to attend Concord. So just anything and everything you can think of. Voc Rehab. We do a lot of coordinating with our local education agency, which is the Shelby County Schools, for services that they provide for our families. And then we provide tuition assistance as well.
Cece, thank you for letting us get to know Concord Academy a little bit more intimately than many of us may have known before. And I want to thank you again for your dedication to Concord and also for your time today as we talk about resources for our families of special needs. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Once again, it's my pleasure to introduce to you one of our professional panelists. Her name is Emily Barker. And Emily Barker is an educational consultant in the Department of Special Education at Vanderbilt University. She specifically works with Transition Tennessee, supporting Tennessee school districts in preparing transition-age youth with disabilities for successful transitions to life after high school. She previously worked as a high school special education teacher, working primarily with 11th and 12th grade students with severe disabilities. In this role, Emily was a work-based learning coordinator, identifying creative accommodations for her students and to help them succeed in the workplace. As a student at Vanderbilt University, she worked with Next Steps at Vanderbilt, an inclusive higher education programmer. In this role, she job coached students, created student schedules, managed the peer mentor program, planned curriculum, and taught students career technology skills. She is passionate about helping young people with disabilities create and reach their goals. Please welcome Emily Barker. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having us today.
Emily, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate all the information you're about ready to give us about Transition Tennessee. So what does your organization provide?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'm probably going to answer the first two questions together, just because
That'll be fine.
Easier for us. So today I'm going to discuss Transition Tennessee and the work we do. We're a little bit different. We don't directly provide services to families. We more push out resources and push people to other specific organizations. So our project is a partnership between Vanderbilt University, the Tennessee Department of Education, Tennessee Vocational Rehabilitation, and then the Vanderbilt Kennedy Center. So our focus is on creating resources and trainings to improve post-school outcomes for students with disabilities. So first, I'm going to briefly discuss our project website and activities to give you context for what we do. And then I'll actually pull up the website to highlight a few resources on the site that we picked out for you guys to specifically look at today. So our website, which is just transitiontennessee.org, is designed to be a comprehensive transition resource for our state. To access these resources, you do have to create an account, but everything on it is completely free. So anyone can sign up for an account, even if they're not within the state. So we have three main sections right now on the website. So one for educators, one for pre-ETS providers, and then one for students. And then while we don't specifically have a family section right now, most of the resources on our site can be helpful for families. So I'm going to show you a couple of those resources in a minute. But on our educator and provider sections, they really focus on online training courses. So each course includes video lessons, supplemental materials, frequently asked questions, and then more information. There are quizzes for each one to gain for the professional to gain professional credit. And then all the content really covers best practice in transition and pre-ETS. So for example, we have courses on assessment, addressing transition in the IEP, and post-secondary education options. And those are just kind of a few of the examples of the different courses we have. And the student site, which is probably more as a family member what you would want to access. It's a little bit different. So it's designed for students to use themselves to explore work or post-secondary options. And it's very interactive. So there's a lot of role-playing activities and game suggestions. We've also included an instructor guide for educators, providers, or even families to use with students as they're exploring that resource. And all of our content is pretty frequently updated. So even if you've been on the website before, we always encourage people to check back frequently because we continue to add new content and revise materials based on state laws and what we know to be best practice in transition. So there's a couple other things that we do beyond just the regular courses on the site. So we host monthly webcasts featuring a variety of speakers, and we've archived each of those on our website. We actually have one coming up next week on benefits to work. And so we encourage y'all to check that out if you're interested. We also conduct training statewide and with specific schools and school districts. And for the last year, all of these have been virtual, but pre-COVID, we've also done in-person trainings with school and pre-ETS providers. And safely after COVID, we plan to return to doing much of our training work in person through technical assistance and communities of practice. But the one kind of pro of COVID has been, all that has been virtual. So most of that has been archived on our website. And then for the past several years, we've also collaborated with the State Department of Education on an annual transition conference. In the past, that's been in conjunction with the PI conference, which is the State Special Education Conference. We have trainings on that for educators, for providers, but also for families. And a lot of those are also archived on our website, especially the ones from this year. And the best way to really find out about new events or to learn about new content on the website is by our e-newsletter. And if you're registered for the website, you'll automatically be signed up for that. So we don't really send a ton of emails all the time, but it's a really great way to tap into what's going on the project. So that's kind of what we provide and then the scope of what we have.
Excellent. I know you want to touch on, you have a lot of resources. I know you want to touch on and highlight a few of them. So can you provide some suggestions that will enable our families to balance daily care versus time for the caregiver?
Yes. So I'm going to touch on several of the resources that we have on our website. There's a lot of different ones. Again, you can kind of explore it with that free account. But as a family member, one thing that we offer that you might be pretty interested in is last year we had a series of virtual transition fairs. These were statewide, and our goal with that was to replicate in-person trainings. Can y'all see this? Actually, I don't think y'all can see this. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. So the point of that was we really brought together agencies and then organizations related to specific topics to share information with families, and attendees had the opportunity to ask questions with that. So all of these are archived on our website, as you can see here. They covered resources from employment programs around the state to inclusive higher education programs for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We also had one on independent living, where we had the statewide Centers for Independent Living come on and discuss what resources they have. Then we had one on college application supports, and then another one on just general post-secondary resources. So each of those has all of the recordings from that, as well as the PowerPoints and PDF form, any resources that were shared, and then kind of a downloadable resource that kind of recapped it. So this provides pretty comprehensive information about the general supports that are available around the state within those specific kind of areas. And we're not, as of now, planning to continue to host these in the future because we covered kind of the general topics, but we are currently working with school districts to implement their own local transition fairs. So that's kind of the first resource. We also have a supports and partnership page. And so this website covers 45 different agencies and organizations, and each of them has kind of a short, thorough 2-page profile about it. So you can kind of search for it by different categories if you're interested in that, or you can look at all of them. And each one typically has kind of the same questions that are asked. I'm going to click on VRs just so y'all can see sort of what it looks like. But some of them have videos kind of explaining what they do. But as you can see here, that's the questions are pretty standard for it, but it gives you some questions to just kind of know what to ask. And then what the student's responsibility is, what the family's responsibility is when getting connected with those organizations. So that's like a really helpful way to discover kind of what different state organizations exist and what they do and how they can help you as you're trying to go through the transition process with your families. So that's that one. We also have a family resources page. So this one is very much geared for you guys. So we've gathered resources in areas families typically need more information about related to transition. So there's 6 boxes here, and each of these open up to a new PDF document that kind of really just lists different organizations and tip sheets, sometimes videos that can really assist you when you're kind of trying to figure it out. We also, with this, have created a downloadable guide that will just help you figure out what you need or what your student would need through these different organizations, because we know sometimes it can be a lot to sift through a lot of resources and overwhelming. So we hope that would help. And then at the bottom of this page, it also provides links to different transition guides that might be helpful, as well as other resources and websites like Disability Pathfinder, Pacer, other websites that would be helpful to find information about different transition related things. And then my last 2 things I wanted to show y'all, I know I mentioned this a second ago, but this is the student portal, which is completely free. For this, you actually don't need a log on. So students their information is not stored on the website. But to get kind of the instructor guide, you do need that. So with this, it's a portal that helps students learn the steps they can take to prepare for the workplace or for further education after graduation. And these lessons are a really great way for students to learn on their own or with support from an instructor or family member. So we have these two paths. So I want to go to work or I want to continue my education. Students can click on that and it'll pull up a variety of different lessons. And they complete these lessons, and it's kind of like a choose your own adventure game. So throughout the lesson, they get to choose, is the student going to ask their guidance counselor for help, or are they going to complete an application by themselves? So it really kind of guides them through many different processes. So the work one, we currently have one on self-assessments, one on the labor market and types of employment. What are my needs, rights, and responsibilities at work? Changing after high school, disability disclosure, communication in the workplace. So it's really important skills that are fun. There are games involved in this, but it teaches students the importance of these things and how to advocate for themselves when they're in the workplace or in college. And so families can access these duties with their children. It's a pretty useful resource. And we just started this like this past year. And so we're constantly adding to it. So if there's something particular that your student really needs and you don't see it on here, feel free to let us know. We're looking for new things. And then our last resource, this is something we compiled kind of at the start of COVID, just to really give families some things to do with their students at home, but it can be used at all times. And so on this Google Doc, you'll see that we've gone through our whole website and identified resources that families can use with their children, especially during the continued pandemic. So it's arranged by topic, and we've provided brief descriptions and links to each resource. So I know that was kind of an overhaul of information, a lot of different resources, but all of those are easily accessible on our website with the free account. So as long as you sign up, you can get all of this for free.
That's excellent. That's an absolute treasure trove of all types of resources. I noticed one of the buttons talked about family and caregiver respite and support. So that is absolutely awesome. And I want to thank you, Emily, for being so willing to join us today and tell us a little bit about Transition Tennessee. So I'm going to go back to Tyler now and see if we have any questions. And thanks again.
Just a reminder, y'all, if you have any questions, please press the hand button at the bottom of the screen. I believe, Carolyn, do you have a question?
I do. For both of you, thank you so much for your presentations. That was very informative and very educational from my perspective. A couple questions. And this might tie into, honestly, next week's presentation too, but you talk about the financial aspects to the parents and the family members as to next steps, how to fund maybe college, trade schools, community schools, just wondering how you approach that aspect of things.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, both you, Emily, you and Cece both. I'd love to see, because I think financial literacy is so just not addressed nearly enough for all people, especially for families with special needs children. I'm wondering if both of you have any kind of platforms supporting the parents and the family members on the financial side of things.
Yeah, so we actually have a financial aid chart that kind of goes through all of the pretty much every avenue that a parent of a child with a disability, or even some that are available to any child. And so that's on our website. It's on our, we have a Pathways to Post-Secondary Education course. And so a lot of that is described there. We also did a webcast back in December with someone from the primary financial aid group. The name is now blanking from me, but her name's Felicia Orr, and she talked about all the different financial aid options for college. So that's also on our website under archived webcasts.
Great, thank you.
And if I could say what we do at Concord as well, we connect our parents with Tennessee Promise. So we usually have a representative from Tennessee Promise to come out and talk to parents. And that's, just any parent that wants to come is able to come. Of course, we did that virtually this year, but we also have a number of resources, in terms of connections with community colleges, things like that, where we can facilitate that relationship between the financial aid office at a school, college, or technical school with the parent.
Great. And Cece, I had one more question for you. Is there a comparable organization school in the Nashville area?
There are a couple of schools that are, I would say, comparable in the Nashville area, and of course, the names of them have just escaped me. Does anyone remember the name? There's two in the Nashville area. One is much larger than us. Again, I apologize for not remembering their names, but
Are you talking about Curry Ingram?
Curry Ingram is one of them. That's the one that's quite a bit larger, and I think they just added a residential program, which we do not have. And then there's another one in the Nashville area that's similar to us as well.
Is it Benton Hall, maybe?
Benton Hall. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm from Memphis. I don't get to Nashville very much, so
Born and raised in Nashville.
Thanks.
Cece brought up when we were talking to her that you're a part of an association, Cece, that a lot of times if people call you and you're not right in their area or something, you can actually resource some of those schools. So whether they're in Nashville or across the state or anything else, she has the ability to kind of tag into that and try to help people with resources.
Right, and that is the Tennessee Association of Independent Schools. And if you just go to their website, you can see all the members there. And, I'm not sure if you can sort by maybe zip code or something like that, but they're a great resource as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, because as a financial advisor, I often get the questions, and I know what I do well, but I'm like, this has been so helpful because I now know where to help direct some of my clients to if those questions do come up. So thank you for that.
Do we have any more questions? It looks like we got some shy attendees today. Let's see. I guess, Jody, how is the transition from Lifelinks to Arosa? I know there's the big switch. Is there any new things that you guys offer that you didn't offer when you guys were just Lifelinks?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we offer now is non-medical home care, which is caregivers. The transition's been smooth. It seems like our reputation of 20 years in the community has held its ground, and we're growing. So the ability to offer caregivers gives us a bigger team model. So we've always had the team model where our clients receive care from a care manager and a nurse so that it's a holistic picture. And now that we have caregivers in the model, then that's like an extension of our team, and the care manager and the nurse can help to coach and guide the caregiver. So that's the biggest service line that's been added since we're now Arosa.
Nice. I guess if there isn't any more questions, any panelists have any more questions, I guess we will end this. Thank you all for attending. We will have week 3 next Thursday, 10 and 6 p.m. Have a great weekend, y'all.